Life often speaks in whispers, weaving threads of purpose into the fabric of our days in ways we may not always understand. And when it comes to love, the kind of love that transcends fleeting emotion and touches the eternal, we are drawn into a dance far larger than ourselves. There is a beauty in the waiting, though it may feel like silence. It is not the absence of movement, but the delicate pause in a symphony, the breath before the crescendo. When the soul aches for connection and the heart longs for clarity, it is easy to forget that love, at its deepest, is not a pursuit, but a calling, a divine alignment that unfolds in its own sacred time. If you feel the pull to be patient, to trust the signs that speak not in words, but in quiet knowing, take heart. The waiting is not empty, it is sacred. For in the grand design of your journey, every moment has meaning. There's a beautiful rhythm to life, a beat that flows from the source of everything, moving through us all, guiding us towards something larger, something greater. We often see time through the lens of our own desires, measured by what we want and when we want it. Yet when we take a step back, we begin to realize that time itself, in its grand scope, is not bound by our limited understanding. But maybe we are part of a much larger cosmic dance, where everything, absolutely everything, happens in its own perfect moment. When we speak of divine timing, we are not speaking of a timepiece or even a linear timeline of days and years. No, what we're speaking of is a flow of energy, an unfolding that is as natural as the rising and setting of the sun, as inevitable as the tides that crash on the shore. And within this grand symphony, each of us has our own place, our own purpose, and our own moment. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, has already set the stage. The pieces are already in place, ready to align when the time is right. And so it is with your kingdom spouse. It's tempting in our impatience and yearning to wonder why things are not happening faster, why the person we seek has not yet arrived. But what if we shifted our perspective just slightly? What if we could trust, truly trust, that this person, this love, is already on their way to you, that in the divine timing of the universe, everything is already unfolding exactly as it should. When we realize that God's timing is perfect, we stop rushing. We cease the anxious pursuit, the desperate grasping at something that we believe should be ours. Instead, we lean into the knowing that what is meant for us will come to us, in its time, in its own beautiful way. It's not just that your spouse is out there somewhere in the world, waiting for the moment when your paths will cross. No, the truth is deeper than that. They are on their own journey, their own path, experiencing everything that they need to experience in order to meet you in the fullness of who they are, and for you to meet them in the fullness of who you are. Both of you, in your own ways, are being shaped by life. You are both evolving, growing, learning what it means to love, to be loved, to sacrifice, and to surrender. And all of these lessons will bring you together in the way that is most beautiful, most divine. There is an unseen hand at work. While we may see ourselves as separate, moving in different directions, the truth is that the force that moves through us is the same force that binds us together. Our lives, our experiences, and our very beings are threads woven into the great tapestry of creation. And the patterns, the patterns, are far more intricate than we could ever imagine. The divine timing that governs these patterns is never late, never early. It is always right on time. Our impatience only comes from our human desire to control, to make sense of things in our own limited ways. But the deeper we surrender to the flow, the more we realize that we don't need to control the clock of life. We simply need to trust that the moment we've been waiting for will arrive, when it is meant to. You see, there's no need to rush the arrival of your kingdom spouse. There's no need to hurry the journey or force it into a shape that feels comfortable. The universe has already created the perfect moment for the two of you to meet, and the forces at play are far greater than any effort we could exert. Your role in this cosmic dance is not to control the steps, but to allow them to unfold. Your job is simply to be ready, to remain open, and to trust that when the time is right, you will meet in perfect harmony. The miracle lies not in how soon or how late this moment will come, but in the knowledge that it will. In this knowing, you are freed from worry. You are freed from the need to rush through life or chase after something that is already yours. And when you can sit in the quiet of this certainty, that's when the magic happens. That's when you become open to the subtle signs, the small confirmations, the whispers of God's guidance that show you you're on the right path. You begin to see the beauty in the waiting because you understand that the waiting itself is a gift. So let go, surrender to the flow. Trust that the divine timing of the universe is working for you, weaving the moments, the people, the lessons, and the experiences that will bring you to the place where you will meet your kingdom spouse. You don't need to search for them. You don't need to force the connection. You simply need to trust that God, in his perfect wisdom, is leading both of you exactly where you need to be in the moment that is already written in the stars. And in the end, you will look back and see the intricate beauty of this timing, the beauty of being led step by step to the person who is meant to walk beside you in this grand journey. When we think of love, we often imagine the grand moments, the spark of recognition, the electrifying connection, the sweeping feeling of destiny. But these are just fleeting moments within the much larger picture of a lifetime. Love in its truest sense is not something we chase or even anticipate in a single instance. It is a deep, slow unfolding, much like a flower opening to the light, each petal revealing a little more of the truth. And in the same way, the journey toward our kingdom spouse is not something that is necessarily instant or easy, but something that develops with such precision and grace that we cannot help but marvel at the orchestration of it all. You see, divine love is not random, nor is it something we simply stumble upon. No, it is something that is carefully, thoughtfully, and purposefully woven into the fabric of our lives. Just as the stars in the sky align in a pattern far greater than any we could create, the journey that brings us to the one we are meant to share our lives with is similarly intricate. It's a path that may twist and turn, but it leads us exactly where we need to be, when we need to be there. And here's the paradox of this journey. While we are being led toward our perfect match, we are also being shaped and refined in ways that prepare us for that meeting. It's easy to become disillusioned by the waiting, to feel as though we are lost or left behind. But in truth, it's during this time of waiting that we are being formed into the people we need to be in order to meet our soulmate. Think of it like a sculptor, chiseling away at a block of marble. Each experience, each challenge, each lesson learned is a stroke of the chisel, shaping us into the person who can stand beside another with depth, wisdom, and love. The times when we feel alone, or when we wonder if the connection will ever come, are not signs that we are off track. Rather, they are signs that God is working in our lives, creating space, clearing away distractions, and ensuring that we are fully ready for what is to come. It is in this quiet space, this seemingly empty space, that we can begin to hear the subtle whispers of the divine. It's in the solitude that we learn more about ourselves, what we truly want and what we truly need. This space is not a void. It is the fertile soil where the roots of love are planted and where we begin to grow into the fullness of our being. So much of the waiting feels like it is in vain, but it is actually the necessary preparation. The love that we are seeking is not just about finding someone to walk with, but about becoming the person who is capable of loving with wisdom, patience, and grace. The waiting is the preparation for what is to come. It is in this time of quiet unfolding that we are growing into the fullest expression of who we are. Learning how to love ourselves deeply, how to honor the divine within us, and how to trust that we are worthy of the love that is meant for us. And as we go through this process of becoming, something incredible happens. We begin to realize that the universe is speaking to us even in the silence. We begin to see signs, gentle nudges from the divine that lead us to a place of recognition. It may be a chance encounter, a deep sense of knowing, or a moment of clarity that reminds us that our kingdom spouse is already on the horizon. These confirmations come not in loud, obvious ways, but in the quiet knowing that God is guiding us, step by step, toward the person who has been prepared for us, just as we have been prepared for them. The magic is not in the destination, but in the journey itself. It's in the subtle moments, the feelings that arise within us when we allow ourselves to be open and receptive. It's in the quiet moments of prayer, of reflection, and of trust, when we realize that the timing is not ours to control, but something much larger, much more beautiful is at work. It is during these times that we must practice patience, not just with the world around us, but with ourselves as well. As we wait, we are reminded that love is not a thing to be grasped or forced. It's not something we need to chase after because it is already moving toward us. Our task in the grand scheme of things is to surrender to the flow, to trust that God is leading us precisely where we need to go. When we allow ourselves to be led by this divine force, we find that the path ahead becomes clear. So, as you wait for the one you are meant to love, remember this: you are not waiting in vain. Every step, every moment of patience, every moment of growth is preparing you for the one who is already on their way to you. The universe has already set the course. Trust it. Let go. Be patient. For what is meant to be yours will arrive in its own time, and when it does, it will be as natural, as perfect, and as divinely timed as the rising sun. And in that moment, when your paths cross, you will see that everything, absolutely everything, has led you here. In the midst of our waiting, there's a profound and often overlooked truth. Our kingdom spouse already knows it's us. There's a knowing within them, a sense that echoes across time and space, waiting for the moment of recognition. This is not a matter of chance or coincidence, but of deep divine orchestration. You may wonder how this can be, especially when you haven't yet met, or when the path to that person feels long and uncertain. But in the grand tapestry of life, nothing is as random as we might believe. The threads are carefully woven, leading us, guiding us, and connecting us in ways that, once seen, seem inevitable. You see, love is not a mere accident of attraction or timing. It is part of a cosmic dance, a dance where each partner's steps are divinely choreographed, even when the music is silent. We tend to think of love as something that emerges spontaneously, a spark that ignites at first sight. But true love, the kind of love that aligns two souls with divine purpose, is far deeper than that. It has been there all along, waiting to manifest in the perfect moment. There's a divine timing that governs the universe, a force that moves beyond our understanding of time. We are taught to live with urgency, to chase, to grab, to rush toward what we desire. But love doesn't work on our timeline. Instead, love works on its own, much like a seed growing in the soil, waiting for the right season to bloom. And it is in this waiting that we come to realize that our perfect match is also preparing for us. They are, in their own way, unfolding and becoming the person they need to be, just as we are in our own process of transformation. We must trust that even in the moments of silence, when it seems that nothing is happening, something is always unfolding. Our kingdom spouse is out there, aware of us, being shaped by their own experiences, their own lessons, their own struggles. Perhaps they are unaware of it consciously, but their soul knows you are coming. There is an unspoken recognition between two hearts meant to be together. Just as the stars in the sky are drawn toward one another by gravity, so too are we drawn to one another by a force much larger than ourselves. This sense of recognition is not something that happens by accident. It's not a whimsical notion or a hopeful wish. It's a knowing that exists deep within the core of both souls. Your kingdom spouse knows that you are the one meant for them. They may not fully understand how or when, but they feel it in their bones. They feel the pull, the call of destiny. They sense the divine timing that is quietly unfolding, weaving them toward you. It's in those quiet moments of their lives, perhaps in the stillness of their own soul-searching, that they feel the stirrings of this connection. They may not have the full picture, but their heart recognizes something. This recognition doesn't always come in the form of an immediate love or even a conscious awareness of you. It might manifest as a sense of incompleteness, a feeling that something is missing, a quiet yearning that they cannot quite explain. The soul's journey is not linear, and sometimes the most profound connections begin with a feeling that can't be articulated. In the same way, we too may feel the call of our kingdom spouse even before we meet them. It's a feeling that transcends time and space, a knowing that pulls us forward. And so we must learn to trust that while we may not see the evidence of it now, it is happening. Our kingdom spouse is being drawn to us, just as we are being drawn to them. This is not the work of coincidence. It is the work of divine alignment. Every experience, every moment of growth, every challenge faced is part of the process that brings us together. Now, this is not to say that we should sit idly by waiting for life to happen. This is not a call to inaction, but rather an invitation to trust the journey. Trust that you are on the path, that every step you take is part of the grand design that will lead you to the one who is destined for you. We often focus on the end result, but we forget that the beauty lies in the unfolding. And sometimes the unfolding can only be fully understood when we look back and see how each moment, each choice, each decision led us to the point we are now. Our kingdom spouse is not waiting for us to become perfect, but rather for us to become the truest version of ourselves. They are, just as we are, learning, growing, evolving. The path may feel uncertain, but with each step we are becoming the person who can stand beside them. And they, in turn, are becoming the person who can stand beside us, ready to embrace the love that was meant to be. So, in the silence, in the waiting, know that your kingdom spouse already knows it's you. They may not be able to articulate it yet, but their soul recognizes the divine connection. And when the time is right, when the moment of recognition arrives, it will feel as though everything has been leading to this moment. You will know with deep certainty that this is the love that has been written for you, and that in the quiet, in the patience, in the waiting, God was weaving it all together. Trust that divine timing is always at work. It is tempting, isn't it, to believe that love should follow our own desires, our timing, and our conditions? We live in a world where everything seems to be available on demand, instantaneously, like the press of a button, and so, when it comes to matters of the heart, we find ourselves trapped in this same mindset. We want love, but love, true love, the love that is destined to transform and heal us, doesn't conform to our conditions. It arrives not when we demand it, but when we're ready to receive it, when the universe has prepared us for it. You see, this whole process of waiting is not passive. It is active, even in its stillness. It is in these moments of waiting that we grow, that we learn to deepen within ourselves. It's as if the universe is saying, prepare yourself, for the love you seek is not just a gift, it is an awakening. And so, the more we wait with patience and trust, the more we realize that we are the ones who need to shift. It's not the world around us that needs to change. It's not the person we're waiting for who needs to change. It's us. We are the ones being prepared, being shaped, being molded. This waiting, this process of growth teaches us something profound. It teaches us that love is not about rushing towards another, but rather about becoming the kind of person who can meet them in the fullness of who they are. Think about it. Our kingdom spouse is not just some person we are destined to meet. They are a mirror, reflecting back to us the best, the deepest, and the truest parts of ourselves. And this means that just as they are on their own path of growth, so are we. When we meet them, we will not be the same people we were when we first began our waiting, and neither will they. There is a rhythm to all of this, a rhythm that, like the ebb and flow of the tides, can't be hurried or forced. Imagine the way the tides move, slow, persistent, and inevitable. They don't rush to crash on the shore. They come in their own time, they retreat, and then they return. This is the movement of life, and this is the movement of love. We cannot rush love. We cannot force it to appear before we are ready to understand it. The love that will transform us is the love that arrives at the right moment, when we are no longer the people who once craved it from a place of lack, but from a place of wholeness. There is wisdom in waiting. It is not a mere pause, but a chance to deepen, to reflect, and to become clearer about who we truly are. The process of waiting is not an empty space. It is the fertile ground in which new things grow. And it is here in the waiting that we begin to understand the divine rhythm that governs all things. We are not meant to control this rhythm, but to surrender to it, to flow with it. Just as a tree does not rush to bear fruit, we are not meant to rush to our kingdom spouse. We are meant to grow into the people who can share life fully, deeply, and meaningly with the person we are destined to be with. The beautiful thing about love, the love that God has destined for you, is that it is not dependent on our hurried desires or on the clock ticking away. It is a love that waits for the perfect moment, the perfect time, and the perfect alignment. So when we say wait, we are not simply idling by. We are learning to align ourselves with the divine plan that is unfolding. We are learning patience, trust, and surrender to the process. And in this surrender, we come to see that our kingdom spouse is also experiencing their own process of growth. They are becoming the person who will meet us exactly where we are, whole, strong, and deeply aware of the beauty of the connection that will soon unfold between us. This is not a love that arrives on our timeline, but one that arrives when we are ready. It is a love that we have to earn through our willingness to grow, to learn, and to become. So, when God asks you to wait, understand that it is not a punishment. It is an invitation to become the very person you are meant to be. You are being shaped by forces far greater than your own understanding, preparing you for the love that will come. Not in your time, but in God's time. And in that moment, when you meet your kingdom spouse, it will feel as if everything has led to this one divine intersection. The waiting will have made sense. The silence will have been golden, for in it you learned the deep trust that is required to welcome the love that is destined for you. When the time comes, it will not be a fleeting moment of chance. It will be the culmination of everything you've waited for, everything you've become. And in that moment, you'll realize that the wait was not just a waiting for them, but a waiting for yourself. There's a subtle yet undeniable force in the world, something intangible yet deeply felt, that leads us toward one another. We live our lives with the quiet assurance that this force, this divine hand, is at work, weaving connections and guiding us along paths we could not have predicted. And though we may look at the distance between us and the person we are destined for, we must understand that this space is not empty. It is full of unseen moments, full of unspoken lessons, full of an unfolding that will eventually bring us together. You may wonder as you wait what exactly is happening in this period of separation. It may feel like a void, like the world is still, like time is stretching too long, but in truth, what feels like distance is actually preparation. The space between you and your kingdom spouse is not a mere absence. It is the space where divine timing is unfolding. It is the sacred ground where both of you are being shaped and refined to meet each other as whole individuals, not as incomplete beings seeking something from one another, but as two souls already whole and full, ready to come together in harmony. In the rush of life, we often forget that there is a rhythm to all things. We live with the illusion that if we hurry, if we force, we can bend the world to our will. But there is no rushing the divine. There is no forcing a connection that has been planned long before we even began to understand it. And so, in this time of waiting, in this time of separation, God is not silent. The silence is rich with purpose, rich with wisdom, and rich with the quiet unfolding of everything you need to become. Perhaps, like many, you wonder if you are truly being prepared for the person you're meant to be with. You may question why it feels as though nothing is happening, why you are still waiting. But rest assured, in the quiet moments when it feels like nothing is shifting, something far greater is at work. You are being prepared in ways you may not see, just as your kingdom spouse is being prepared for you. Both of you are being shaped through challenges, through growth, through moments of solitude, through moments of clarity, so that when you finally come together, you are both ready to honor and nurture the love that has been waiting for you. There's a truth in the silence that we must learn to embrace. You see, we often mistake silence for emptiness, but it's not empty at all. In this quiet, divine whispers are being spoken, lessons are being learned, and hearts are being softened. The waiting period is not wasted. It is an essential part of the process. In this silence, you are learning to listen. To listen not just with your ears, but with your heart. And what you hear in this silence is the truth of your own becoming. You are becoming the person who will be able to fully meet your kingdom spouse with the love, understanding, and patience they deserve. And they too are being prepared to meet you. It's in these moments of waiting that we must trust in the process. Trust in the timing that is far greater than our own understanding. We must let go of the need to rush, to control, to force things to happen on our schedule. Instead, we surrender to the flow of life, knowing that the universe has its own way of orchestrating events in perfect harmony. The more we trust this rhythm, the more we realize that we are not in control of the journey, but merely participants in a much larger cosmic dance. What's so remarkable about this dance is that it is not about the end goal, but about the transformation that happens along the way. You see, the person you are becoming during this waiting period is just as important as the person you will eventually meet. And as you learn to trust the process, you'll find that your desires and expectations evolve. The waiting period teaches you to let go of your ego's need for instant gratification and to embrace a deeper, more profound connection with yourself. And in doing so, you become more aligned with the love that is coming to you. In the moments when you feel weary, when impatience threatens to take root, remember this: the silence, the stillness is not a punishment. It is a blessing. It is an invitation to look inward, to discover the person you are meant to be. When you understand this, you realize that waiting is not just about the other person, it is about becoming the best version of yourself. You are not waiting for someone to complete you. No, you are waiting for someone who will see you in your completeness, who will meet you where you are and love you for everything you have become. So, while you wait, remember that God is not withholding your kingdom spouse from you. Rather, he is preparing you for the gift that is about to unfold. He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating moments, aligning hearts, and preparing both you and your future partner for the divine union that will come. And in this waiting, you are growing into the person who is ready for that union. The key to all of this is patience. Not the kind of patience that drags you along begrudgingly, but the kind that allows you to surrender, to trust in the divine unfolding of your life. And when the time comes, when you finally meet the one you've been waiting for, you'll see that every moment of waiting, every moment of silence, has been part of a greater plan, one that is beautifully designed just for you. You are being prepared, and so is your kingdom spouse. When you meet, it will not be by chance. It will be the fulfillment of everything that has come before, and in that moment you will know the waiting was never in vain. We often find ourselves wrestling with impatience, unable to quiet the inner restlessness that urges us to force our will upon the natural course of things. We want to know, we want to see, we want the answers now. But what if, just for a moment, we were to let go of our need for immediate certainty and allow life to unfold at its own pace? What if we were to understand that the waiting, the longing, is not a punishment or a sign of absence, but rather a process of becoming, an invitation to trust that what is meant for us will come when we are ready for it? You see, waiting isn't just an empty pause between where we are and where we want to be. No, in the stillness of waiting, something profound is happening. In this space, we are being prepared, we are being refined, just as a diamond is shaped and polished over time. And so when we feel the urge to rush, when impatience begins to stir, we must remind ourselves that the best things in life come to those who are ready to receive them, not just in body, but in spirit. Our journey, in its own quiet, patient unfolding, is preparing us for the love that will come when the time is right. But how do we know that the person we are waiting for is the one meant for us? How can we be sure that we are not simply holding on to an illusion? The truth is, there are signs all around us, signs that reassure us that we are on the right path. One of the most profound of these signs is the sense of recognition. When you meet your kingdom spouse, it won't be like meeting a stranger. There will be an undeniable sense of familiarity, as if you've known each other for lifetimes, as if your souls have already intertwined long before this moment. It's not a surface-level attraction, but a deeper recognition, a knowing that stretches beyond the limits of time and space. This recognition doesn't always come in the form of instant romance or a grand declaration of love. It may begin quietly, like a whisper in the soul, but it's there like the softest breeze that stirs the leaves just enough to remind you that the wind is alive. This is God's way of guiding you, of confirming that the path you are walking, though sometimes uncertain, is the one meant for you. And as this recognition begins to grow, so does the understanding that this person is not someone you must chase, not someone you must convince to love you. They will know it's you just as you will know it's them. The waiting is not for you to prove yourself worthy of love, but for the perfect alignment to occur, so that when the time comes, when the moment of meeting happens, it is a seamless connection that feels as natural as the rising sun. It is a meeting of two souls that are ready to recognize one another in all their beauty and flaws, to embrace the divine timing that brought them together. But this recognition, this deep knowing, doesn't come until both of you are ready. And so in the waiting, both of you are growing. The silence and the stillness of the moment is not emptiness, but rather a preparation for what is to come. You are not just waiting for the right person, you are also becoming the right person. Each moment of solitude, each challenge, Each moment of growth is shaping you into someone who can fully appreciate and honor the love that will be given to you. And it is doing the same for your kingdom spouse. Just as you are being prepared, so too are they. And when the time comes, you will both be ready to meet one another in the fullness of who you are. As you move through this journey, it's important to trust the process, even when it feels long or difficult. The waiting is not an indication that something is wrong or that you are being denied. It is a confirmation that everything is unfolding as it should. You see, timing is everything. Divine timing isn't just a vague concept. It's a living, breathing reality that governs every aspect of our lives. And it knows precisely when the time is right for things to fall into place. The person you are meant to be with is not lost. They are not out of reach. They are simply on their own journey, just as you are on yours. And so in this space of waiting, embrace the beauty of the process. Trust in the silence. Trust in the unseen. Know that every moment of waiting is a step closer to the love that is being prepared for you. It is not about rushing to fill a void. It is about allowing yourself to become the person who is ready to receive the love that is already on its way. And when you finally meet, when you finally come together, you will see that the waiting was not in vain. It was part of the divine plan, part of the grand orchestration of the universe, leading you to the person who is meant to walk beside you for the rest of your life. So if you feel uncertain, if you feel like the waiting is too long, remember this: you are not alone in the silence. Your kingdom spouse is waiting too. And in the stillness, in the quiet, the connection is already being made. When the time is right, when you are both ready, you will know it. And when you meet, it will feel as if the universe has been quietly preparing you both for this moment all along.